Christian.
I'm Chris Schultz.
And we are here, quarantined in my house, practicing social distancing.
Yep.
Because that's the world we live in now.
Yeah, it is. And I hope that by the time this episode comes out, it's not the world that we live in.
Oh, please, Lord, because all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So while you're quarantined at home and hopefully practicing your social distancing protocols, check us out on esotericthepodcast.com.
You can find links to all the places that we are able to be listened on, all of our social media, our YouTube channel.
Our Instagram, which you can right now. I did get an email from WordPress this morning that Instagram changed something and we have to reset the widget or it's going to go away.
Okay, well, we'll have that fixed.
And I'm saying that now so that if you go on the website and you see it's not fixed, then you know that we flaked.
You know how to call us out.
So hopefully that won't be a problem. So that's our situation. It's kind of funny. You know, we're recording this episode 2 weeks in advance, as we did with the last few episodes. And there's been a progression in how serious this COVID-19 thing has been as we've been recording our episodes.
And you can certainly tell the story based on our episodes. So
It's all about us.
All about us. So happy Easter. That's coming up in, a few days from now, the time that you are listening to this.
Yeah, in fact, it'll be Monday, Thursday will be tomorrow for y'all when you're listening to this.
Yes. Well, I guess no better drink to talk about on Easter is liquid death. So that's what we're going to be trying today, liquid death. So liquid death, as cool as it sounds, it's just water.
Water?
It's just water.
That's all it is.
It all is. It's mountain water in a can.
It looks like a tall boy.
It does. The reason that I decided to bring this for us to try is mainly because of the marketing campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So, like right now on their website, they have a Fuck Corona special.
Nice.
So I think it's like you buy like a 12-pack or something of tall boy water to stock up against Corona.
Interesting side story. A couple months ago, I was on the freebies subreddit, and they had an offer from Liquid Death. If you sold them your soul, you get a free case of water. So I did.
No way.
There was actually like legal contract that you had to write, assigning your soul over to them.
I want to know what's considered a soul.
There's a whole Simpsons episode about that was really good. I took the dive and signed my soul over to them, and then found out it was a bait and switch. At the end, you have to buy a case, and then you get a free case with that.
Of course you do.
So I have not redeemed my offer, but they own my soul, apparently. So maybe if this is good, I'll change my mind and go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we have a can of liquid death here. Why don't we crack it open and give it a shot?
Excellent. Let's
hand me that can of liquid death.
I'm gonna.
Oh, you're just gonna open it.
I'm gonna do my little tap. Oh yeah, I can open it.
It's just water. You don't need to tap it.
I don't want it to explode. And here we go. We've opened it.
We have. So you have it in your hand. You want to try some? Or?
I'll take a sip. Ooh, that's some tasty water. Can I try a sip?
Sure.
And Aaron's drinking the water.
That's some damn good water, if you ask me.
It really is. It's clean and clear and doesn't have any sort of aftertaste or like additive taste to it. Tastes like a really good, clean glass of water.
This frosty can of pristine Austrian mountain water won't just refresh your body. It'll murder your thirst.
Ooh.
So,
I feel like my thirst is about to get murdered.
Excuse me. A little tickle in my throat there. I guess I need some more of that Austrian beverage. So that's some pretty good water. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, good purchase. I think I may try to dig up that email and see if I can get my soul's worth of liquid death.
I do want to note that it was bottled at Frankenmarkter, Austria. Bottled for liquid death. Such a great sentence. So go try it out, Liquid Death.
Okay, before we go any further, I want to take a minute to talk about the awesome folks at Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way. In fact, it's the way that we make a podcast. Let me explain.
It's free.
There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
And you can make money from your podcast. Best part, no minimum listenership.
Ooh. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
It's so cool. We found the service, we started using it, we're making podcasts.
Yeah, making podcasts, making money, having a good time.
So listen, you want to get you out there, you want to be heard, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Thank you. So for those of you that don't know, we chunk up our episodes. If you listen to it on Anchor, you can usually see the different chunks, but we have to chunk them up and record them in chunks. And if you listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, you shouldn't be able to tell. But if you're on Anchor, you should be, whatever, that's the whole thing. We were having an issue for the longest time right on this episode, and we couldn't figure out why, that there was some weird echo delay thing going on. And I think we've resolved the issue. You shouldn't be able to hear it anywhere in this episode. But if it comes up again, I want to apologize. It's the fruits of my labor is trying to make this sound good. So if it doesn't sound good, I want to apologize.
Yeah, we thought we were going to tear off a few episodes tonight, but we've been dealing with latency.
Yeah, it's been hours.
Hours.
But now here we are. So like we said, Easter's coming up, and Chris wanted to tell a story about his past.
What? The legend of the Beaster Bunny.
The Beaster Bunny.
So when I was in my early 20s, I had a period of time where I decided to work some odd jobs. And when I say odd jobs, I was looking for odd jobs.
Like specifically odd jobs.
Weird stuff that just, to try it for the hell of it. And I answered an ad in the paper for a mall Easter Bunny.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. Right? I was the only guy working for the company, so they were a little suspicious at first, but they didn't do Corey's or anything like that. But after talking to me, they just realized I was a guy who just wanted to be an Easter Bunny to make some money.
Yeah.
So the deal was, I worked at the mall at the South Shore Plaza. They had a changing room downstairs underneath the mall. So you go in and you put on that uncomfortable bunny suit with the giant head. The head was strapped onto you so that it wouldn't fall off. And you looked out of the mouth, the Easter Bunny's mouth. That's where your eyes were. And then you had to be escorted halfway through the mall to the little location where they were doing pictures. And let me tell you, it was a 4-hour shift. You could not do more than 4 hours. I got pissed on. I got vomited on. I got kicked and screamed at. Parents, if your kid is freaking out and doesn't want to sit in the Easter Bunny's lap, let it go. The person in that suit does not want your screaming kid.
I don't blame the kid in this, the person in the suit.
And you can't talk to them. You're not supposed to talk. All you can do is mime.
Yeah, it's not Santa Claus. Santa Claus can at least have a conversation with you.
Yeah, the Easter Bunny's got a fixed smile on his face, and all you can do is wave and dance. When we were slow, one of the things that I used to like doing was if I saw a cute girl walking by, I would flirt overtly with her, and I would also do the same thing to guys. And the interesting thing is 99% of the girls enjoyed it and laughed, and guys would generally enjoy it, but you could see them start to get suspicious, wondering if it was a guy or a girl in the suit. They get all uncomfortable. So that was good times. But I had a few horror stories. One, I'd laugh just thinking about it. There was this kid who was terrified of the Easter Bunny, and we managed to get him calmed down. And his mom gets him in my lap, and he looks over at me, and all of a sudden he starts screaming bloody murder and freaking out. Total meltdown. And his mom comes running over and he screams, "The Easter Bunny ate somebody. I can see his face inside his mouth." And of course that was me looking out. Another kid decided to feed me a carrot. I didn't see it coming. Jammed me right in the damn eye. Let's see. I tried putting ice packs inside the head to keep me cool. I duct taped them to the top, and of course a lot of condensation builds up. So about halfway through my shift, a warm ice bag fell and just got stuck on my face. But the kicker, and I'm surprised I didn't get fired for this, and thank God this was in the age. This was in the age before YouTube and cell phones.
Thanks, Grandpa.
I know, right? So whoever was supposed to work the next shift didn't show up. So my 4 hours came and went, and I was still in the suit. I swear to God, I started hallucinating. Like, I had no idea what time it was.
Yeah.
And finally, they said, "Okay, Mr. Bunny, we're gonna take you back to get you changed." So I had this little old lady who was the helper. She's escorting me through the mall. I'm nearly delirious, completely dehydrated, walking through the mall, and this group of kids, about 12 to 13, started harassing me. And this lady, totally impotently is saying, "Leave Mr. Bunny alone. Be nice to Mr. Bunny." And I'm trying to wave the kids off, and one of them starts grabbing me, and I take his hand off, and I wave and do my bunny thing. Next thing I know, the little son of a bitch grabs the head and tries to rip it off, and it ain't coming off because it's strapped to me. I lost my shit. I punched him. I knocked him down to the ground. I started kicking the crap out of him right in the middle of the mall. And so I'm wailing on this kid. And now I'm not beating him to hurt him because I'm in a big fluffy costume.
Yeah.
But I'm putting a beat down on him. I look out of the mask, and what do I see? But a group of like 5 and 6 year olds all standing there, their mouth dropped wide open, horrified as they watch the Easter Bunny kick the shit out of some kid in the middle of the mall. And thus was born the legend of the Easter Bunny.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, that was fun.
Fun is a word. Oh my gosh.
As glad as I am that there was no cell phones or YouTube back then, because that would have gone viral. I do wish somebody had caught an image of it, because I'm sure it was a sight to be seen.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Today's episode, I wanted to bring you and our listeners in on a little tradition that I observe every year at Easter, and is listening to the Residents album Wormwood.
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 Oh, not Wormwood.
No, worm.
All right.
As in,
I thought it was Wormwood
No,
for
it's
a long while.
worm as in crawly, creepy thing. The
Wow.
morning star. So this is their 1998 release from the San Francisco-based art collective known as the Residents. Talk about esoteric. Not many people are familiar with the Residents.
No.
So I'm just gonna give a brief overview of who they are as a band, and this is from their official site. One thing to understand with the Residents is anytime they are talking about themselves, it's suspect. So, alternatively seen as a rock band, an arts collective, and a spirit, the Residents have been regarded as icons in the world of experimental music for almost 50 years. In addition to their groundbreaking work in the areas of trance, world fusion, electronica, punk, industrial, and lounge music, the group has also been credited with being among the originators of performance art and music video, and their videos included in the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art, which is actually true.
Good to know.
So this is their 1998 release. It's a concept album called Wormwood, Unusual Stories from the Bible. And what they did was collected some of the more, shall we say, esoteric stories from the Old Testament, tales that you will not hear in church or Sunday school. Some of the stranger stuff, and it is actually in the Bible.
Okay.
So each track is referring to a particular chapter and verse, and then it's usually told from the point of view of one of the characters. So what I thought we would do for this episode as we break it down is introduce each track with a brief synopsis of the Bible story that's being told, listen to the song, and then reflect upon it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so our first track is called In the Beginning. This is Genesis chapters 1 through 3. It's the creation story. Also an instrumental, so there's no character in it per se, but the Adam and Eve and the whole creation of the world.
All right, well, let's jump in. So what's really cool about that song is you can actually feel the buildup of the world being created Like, does that make sense? Like, there are certain parts you can really feel there's a definitive climax into things, and like, I don't know, let there be like the whole 7 days. Like, I can totally understand that because by the time that you get to the end of the song, you have crickets and stuff, and it's kind of like, and then God rested, and like it's nighttime, and now it's all right. We're relaxing. I don't know. Like, that's the way I'm looking at it. I see an adventure. I see a journey.
I totally see. Yeah, it's a story told without words.
It's exactly what an instrumental song should be.
And I also know, like, they did a pretty. Usually, the Residents don't tour, but they did a pretty comprehensive tour to support this album, and they presented it sort of as a musical. So I feel like that is almost like an overture too, because there's certain themes that will reappear on other songs in the album. Cool. So that was in the beginning. The next song is Firefall, and that comes from Genesis chapter 19. Now, they have a great little write-up here, but I love this story so much, I just got to tell it in my own words.
Oh, I want to hear it.
So, Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, we're focusing on Sodom. Lot and his wife and his 2 virginal daughters live at home, and one day these strangers show up in town, and they knock on Lot's door, and they seem to know him. So Lot's like, yeah, hey, come on to my house and hang out. Shortly after that, there's a knock on the door, and it's like everybody in town. And they're all like, dude, send those 2 strangers out, because they've been walking around town criticizing us, and we want to have butt sex with them. And Lot says, well, they're in my house, they're under my protection, so I can't do that. Instead, here's my 2 virginal daughters who've never known a man. Why don't you take them and do as you please? Strangely enough, the crowd says, nope, we want to do butt sex on those guys. And we're not going away. So then the strangers come and they snap their fingers or whatever. The crowd goes blind and can't find the door. They go inside and they say, hey, Lot, you got to get the hell out of here because shit's going to get real. So Lot goes to his 2 son-in-laws and says, we got to leave. We got to get out of here. Bad stuff's going to happen. And his son-in-laws laugh at him, as most son-in-laws do when it comes to father-in-laws. Yeah. So Lot goes home, and he's still hesitant and not sure he wants to go. And finally, the angels teleport him out of Sodom, him and his wife and his 2 daughters. And they say, get thee to the mountains. Don't look back. Shit's coming down. And sure enough, fire, brimstone rains down on the city of Sodom.
Now, I have always interpreted it, right? Because when you're saying don't look back, you turn around, you're looking back. Like, don't look back in your heart, like you don't want to go back.
Oh, it's metaphorically rather than...
Yeah, because, you turn around, you see it on fire. It doesn't mean you want to go back to it. Yeah. I mean, if you miss the place that you were at, then that's different. You were looking back in it. Just a thought, food for thought.
Oh, I certainly hope, having spent some time reading the Old Testament... Now, I don't want to be a Bible debunker. That's not what I'm doing here. Right. I certainly hope that some of the stories in the Old Testament are allegorical and not actual recorded events, because there's some weird stuff going on. Yeah. Case in point, because this story gets better. So Lot's wife looks back in her heart, or physically. Either way, she turns to a pillar of salt, and she's gone. So now, terrified, Lot and his 2 daughters, underage, virginal, unbroken hymen daughters, go to a cave, and they decide to live out their days. Not long after they've been there, the older daughter says to the younger daughter, we're stuck here now. There's no men to continue our line, so I'm going to get Dad drunk, and I'm going to have sex on him. And she does. And she gets pregnant with Lot's child. And then the younger daughter says, there's no one here for me to procreate with and continue the line, so I'm going to get Daddy drunk and have sex on him. And she does, and gets pregnant. And Lot's all like, dude, I'm just an old man. I don't know what's going on.
There's a lot to unpack there.
There is, and it's in the Bible. You can look it up. I may have paraphrased a few things, but...
It's in the Bible. Look it up.
That's the story.
So why don't we take a listen to Firefall and listen to this ordeal.
Which is sung by Lot. So the character singing is Lot telling his version of events.
Scream
So completely off topic for a second. Just want to ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of the band Ghost?
I have not.
Ghost. Well, so we talked about the residents. Like nobody knows who the residents are. Like they wear masks and stuff on stage. There's like the eyeball and the skeleton and such.
Yep.
Right. We didn't. I don't know if we really mentioned it. The eyeball is like their thing.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. I forgot to mention that. So they have this whole thing called the theory of obscurity, where the theory being that when you have a band and the members of the band become celebrities, it takes away from the true art. They want people to just be able to focus on the music and the concept of the album. So they've always obscured their identity. They settled on, I think the original idea was just to have a different look for every album, but they settled on the iconic eyeballs with top hats. There used to be 4 of them. One of them got stolen and replaced with a skull. So it's 3 eyeballs and a skull.
Well, I guess bouncing off of that, and I don't know if there's any inspiration there, but the band Ghost, there's like this whole satanic like church kind of vibe with it. So there's like a pope, Papa Emeritus or something. And I guess he's got another name too. I don't know it. I'll be butcher it if I tried. But they all have masks on. Like you would never know who any of them are. I think they only know the name of one member because they got sued in a lawsuit and his name was in it. That's it.
Interesting.
So it's really, I don't know, that obscurity thing. I appreciate it. Anyways, back to this song. I didn't really pick up on the whole doing their dad reference.
It's subtle.
It's subtle.
The last verse, he says, I was lonely for my wife. It only happened once or twice. I'm just an old man who just can't stand his memories.
Got it.
Sort of downplayed. Oh, we have a visitor in the studio.
Yes, we do.
Hi, Zoe. She smells food.
All right, so that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny, and I'm guessing this is intentional, that the character of Lot, as he's singing, he doesn't really drill down to anything that happened, especially like the weird stuff that Lot was doing. He's just like, some stuff happened, and I'm an old man. How could I understand? I'm confused.
So what's our next track?
The next track is, the song is called They Are the Meat. This comes from Ezekiel chapter 4, verses 4 through 151.
That is a lot of verses for one story.
It really is. And the synopsis of it could not be shorter. Basically, Yahweh decides to humiliate Ezekiel by ordering him to eat only bread baked using human dung fuel.
Dung fuel.
All right. So you got to use poop fire to make your bread, and then to lie on his left side for 13 months. Ezekiel has some strange visions, as one would. And that's directly taken from the Bible. So the song is They Are the Meat, sung by Ezekiel.
All right, well, let's listen to this dung-fueled anthem.
Do a hole in the sky where God told me to dig. I found figures of pigs. He put his butchers to work with a company.
Well, you're lying on your left side for 13 months, eating poop-fired bread.
Poop-fired bread.
I'd be disappointed if you didn't hallucinate.
I mean, like, why?
So here's my thought. God was really, really bored. Like, all right, God's sitting up in heaven doing his God thing, and he's like, all right, I'm going to humiliate this guy. Ezekiel, lie on your side for 13 months and only eat poop-fired bread. So there.
Like, how do you not die from that? I mean, okay, God's making him do it. Like, he can make anybody live through anything, I guess.
Oh, that's even meaner, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to let you die. You're going to live. I bet you on day 1 after 13 months was like the best day of Ezekiel's life.
Probably, yeah.
Probably had himself some pulled pork sandwiches or something. No bread. I'd be on a keto diet after that. No more bread.
Oh, my gosh.
Poor Ezekiel. So that brings us to our next track, Melancholy Clumps. This also comes from the book of Genesis, chapters 6 through 8. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in Genesis.
Yeah, the Old Testament's got a lot of stuff.
And you know, a lot of times when people hear Genesis, they think of Invisible Touch, but you know, Genesis was a like hardcore prog band when Peter Gabriel was fronting them.
You know, Invisible Touch is the only Genesis song that matters, right?
That's a conversation for another day.
I know it is.
So, Melancholy Clumps. This song is sung by the passengers of Noah's Ark, including Noah, and who is the son of Lamech. So, basically, the sons of the gods became sexually excited by earth women and kept impregnating them.
I've actually heard this story before.
I had not, and I'm a preacher's son. So Yahweh blames the earth people for the problem and decides to kill everyone. Almost everyone. He tells Noah and family to build a boat and to gather up 7 pairs of each clean animal and 1 pair of each unclean animal to put in the boat. Noah ignores the 7-pair order. After 40 days of rain and 7 months of floating on an endless sea, Noah releases 1 raven and it flies back and forth until the land is dry. As soon as Noah and the family get off the boat, Noah builds an altar and sacrifices 1 of each pair of the clean animals. God thinks it smells so good that he decides he won't kill all living creatures ever again, no matter how evil they may be. Look it up.
I didn't hear the last part of the story, but I knew the first part of the story. I just want to ask you your opinion on this before we listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be, do you think this would end up like Lot and his daughters with Noah?
So
I know this happened before that, right?
Yep. But
like,
you reduce the population down to Noah and his family.
like is the same thing going to have to happen again? I mean, I guess him and his wife are still there, but you still got like
There's definitely
there's a lot of incest going on.
there's a lot of incest going on.
And like we have to keep in mind, like incest they didn't know that it was bad. Then.
Yeah.
Like that was not a thing. There were no commandments or anything like that.
Yeah. Imagine how much smarter the human race used to be before we all became inbred.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
why don't we listen to
Okay.
this?
So oddly enough, generally, I think the story of Noah's Ark is one of those happy stories about how God wiped out all the wicked people, and then Noah and his wife, survived, and there was hope and a rainbow. This song was not that.
Yeah, and it's really like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines in the whole song, and like that's supposed to tell that whole story.
Its shadow seems to softly hold the sickly scent of sour souls, and says this ship will be the home of melancholy clumps of bone. Like, yeah, there's no rainbows there, man.
No.
That's great. Different take.
Yeah, it's different. I appreciate that they want to bring in like if nobody analyzed these weird stories that were in the Bible or these esoteric stories, I'll call them, then how would who else would?
It's true.
Like I would love for the pastor next door here to just pop out and just talk about.
Good Lord, why did we not think of this ahead of time? To bring in a priest or a minister to go through this with us. That would have been awesome.
That would be
Maybe we'll have to redo this album next Easter.
next Easter.
And bring a new perspective.
Maybe next
in.
religious holiday. We'll
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I do appreciate about the Residents, it's very easy to mistake this album for an attack on or criticism of Christianity. They're totally unironic in their telling of the story. They're being straightforward. It's not something that you're used to hearing, and the perspective might be different, but they're treating it seriously, and they're being reverent in their special way.
Yeah, they are.
So, as I've said that, and we now start getting into some weirder stuff, the next song is called How to Get Ahead. And this is from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 6, verses 17 through 29.
So we're in the New Testament.
We're in the New Testament.
So what's this about?
This is, so the story being, King Herod married his brother's wife, Herodias. I'm going to go with Herodias. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Mm-hmm.
John the Baptist tells Herodias it is wrong. She doesn't like being told she is wrong. So at Herod's birthday banquet, Herodias' young daughter spins into the room and dances so sensually that the tipsy king can't resist her. He swears to give her anything she wants. The girl, drunk with the first feeling of her sexual power, has no idea what to wish for, so she asks her mom. Mom sarcastically suggests the head of John the Baptist. That sounds like an outrageous request, so she says, I want the head of John the Baptist on a dish. The king is distressed, but he's got a boner. So he gives his oath in front of all his guests. So John's head is cut off, placed on a dish, and given to the girl. Though the Bible never gives the name of the young lady who dances, other sources say her name is Salome, and that she does this thing with 7 veils that is dynamite. Look it up. This is the Song of Salome.
Look it up. Read a book. Look it up. I love what you were telling people.
Mark 6, 17 through 29.
So remind me the name of this song again.
How to Get Ahead.
How to Get Ahead. Okay, let's take a listen.
Alrighty.
There were guys watching my body. There were guys watching my breasts. There were guys watching my body. I was excited and losing my breath.
So I like the they're talking about how to her she's just like it's just a word, like it's just like he's a head, just give me John's head, and then they cut the dude's head off.
Yeah, and she seems fairly traumatized.
I don't blame her. I mean, if someone ISIS decapitated you, not you, but someone in front of you, like holy crap.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about going back to biblical times, and they actually ran into this problem with Game of Thrones when they took the book and turned it into a show. So Salome is probably a 13-year-old girl.
Right.
Dancing bare-ass naked in front of the king while guys are ogling her breasts. And she's getting excited by it and feeling a little bit of power. So that's creepy to us because in this day and age, that's way inappropriate.
Oh, way.
And I reference Game of Thrones because in the books, most of those characters, like Khaleesi and them, they're like 13, 14-year-old girls.
Right.
They are not grown women. So that's some dark stuff for us. I like her perspective. She's kind of enthralled by this whole thing. And then it's like, oh, holy shit, they killed this dude and gave me his head.
Right.
And he was John the Baptist, which I think he was Jesus' cousin, if I remember correctly.
I don't know enough to comment on that. Well, moving on then.
Moving on, we go back to the Old Testament, to the book of Genesis, where most of our stories come from. This is Genesis chapter 4, the story of Cain and Abel. This song is sung by Cain. So Cain and Abel are brothers, 2 of the many children of Adam and Eve. Cain is a farmer and Abel is a herdsman. When they make their sacrifices to Yahweh, he only accepts Abel's meat offering, rejecting the grain of Cain. Well, Cain makes a meat offering by then killing Abel. Cain is upset about it, but Yahweh is so impressed that he puts a mark on Cain to protect him from anyone who might try to avenge Abel's death. Cain goes off, gets married, and becomes a successful businessman. Look it up. Genesis chapter 4.
Well, let's listen to the story of Cain and Abel from the Residence.
Browns the ground. Blood drowns the ground. Yes, blood drowns the ground.
So, blood drowns the ground.
Blood drowns the ground.
I thought that was a really nice. What's the word I'm looking for?
mental picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I needed you. You didn't need me. So it's kind of interesting. Here he just like bashed his brother's head in with a rock, and
Yeah.
he's blaming God for it.
Yeah, he's just kind of pointing the finger everywhere else. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, you did it.
Which might be why he was marked and sent on his way.
Yeah.
But other than that, he kind of got away with the whole thing. I guess. Like God was just like, "Meh, oh well. That
Yeah, I know.
happened."
Yeah. well, yeah.
No, it was
Again, like they didn't know any better. We talked about this earlier with the whole, what's his name, Lot and his daughters.
yeah.
You know,
Interesting times back then.
interesting for sure.
So that was the story of Cain and Abel. Our next track is called Mr. Misery, and that's the story of Jeremiah, who is the most unhappy man in the Bible. Gives Job a run for his money. He spends a couple of books of the Bible being a complete downer. Look it up if you need dreary reading. And his song is taken from Book of Jeremiah and the Book of Lamentations. And it is sung from the perspective of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah,
Let's take a listen to Mr. Misery.
Mr. Misery.
They call me Mr. Misery. They laugh and dump decay on me. They let them throw me in a pit, full of angry spite and spit with wasted flesh and broken.
So this is the most emo song in the Bible.
Jeremiah. Well, it's, the Book of Lamentations, which I'm not overly familiar with, but I'm guessing there's a lot of bitching going on in that book.
Probably.
God hates me.
He loves us all.
Sometimes he just has a funny way of showing it.
Yeah.
Our next song is called Tent Peg in the Temple.
Tent Peg in the Temple.
A little bit of play on words there. This is sung by Jael, wife of Heber. So the basic story, and I'm taking this from the liner notes of the album. Yahweh has sold the Israelites to Jabin, the Canaanite king. The commander of his forces is Sisera, who opposed the Israelites for 20 years with his large army. Yahweh feels it is time for the Israelites to be victorious, so they attack Sisera and his army. Sisera jumps off his chariot and seeks to hide in the house of Jael, whom he believes to be neutral in the battle. Jael invites him in and covers him with a rug. When he falls asleep, she takes a tent peg and a hammer and drives the peg into his skull. King Jabin is defeated and grants the Israelites peace for 40 years. Predictably enough, then gets angry and again delivers them to the Midianites. Look it up, Book of Judges, chapters 4 through 5.
Look it up.
Look
It's
it
in there.
It's we're just paraphrasing. So this is Tent Peg in the Temple.
I'm naked too. He's dead and naked, but he's still wearing his shoes. Once there was an ugly woman.
So did I miss the naked reference in the story?
There was a couple things that happened in the song that weren't referenced in that little bit of exposition.
Yeah.
Like also, apparently, the invading army wore some sort of armor, and the good guys in the story marshaled their forces, and they didn't have any armor. And then God made it rain, and everything turned to mud, and the armored guys got stuck. And then the good guys just went around and stabbed them while they were stuck. That's messed up. But apparently, yeah, it's like he got naked because he was wet, and then she got naked, and they were attracted to each other, and then she panicked and rolled him in a rug and stabbed him in the head.
She panicked? Jesus.
This,
Well, not this story.
yeah,
but,
not this one, but and then she just stood there crying as he bled out. He rolled upside the blanket.
Wow. Well, that was... Okay, now that's a lot more messed up than I thought it was.
They have a way of going in that direction. So that was Book of Judges, chapters 4 through 5. If you want the complete story. And it was interesting. So that was sung by Molly, who was the female voice of the Residents for a period of time. You could say about the Residents that it's, I think my wife has used this term masturbatory music. It's a bunch of guys, and it's always, very male perspective.
Yeah.
So Molly was an interesting element in the band, which I think is missed now. Okay, so our next track is God's Magic Finger. And, I really should have practiced my biblical terminology before diving into this, because I'm going to slaughter pronunciation on these names. But this is sung by King Belshazzar, son of King Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh, Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is Belshazzar, son of King Nebuchadnezzar. Okay. Yes. So the king is throwing a bash for his closest 1,000 friends, and he thinks he can impress the guys by drinking from the gold cups that were stolen from the sanctuary at Jerusalem by his father. This turns out to be a bad idea, because a human finger suddenly appears and writes on the plaster of the wall, "Many, many tekel u farson." Daniel is called in to interpret the mysterious words. He tells the king that his father was crazy and that the message means the reign of his bloodline is over. That night, Belteshazzar dies. Look it up. Book of Daniel, chapter 5.
Well, let's hear about the death of this dude.
And the magic finger.
It was a finger instead of a singer. It was a finger instead of a song. It was a finger instead of a singer.
It didn't stay too long.
It was a finger instead of a singer. It was a finger instead.
So I got so caught up in how catchy the chorus of the song is that I forgot everything else that happened. Like I couldn't tell what was going on in the rest of the story.
Well, it's a bizarre little story. So, if I'm reading it right, the dude drinks out of some gold chalice that is sacred,
Yeah.
and that ticks God off. So he sends a disembodied finger to write on the wall in some strange language, and it ends up being interpreted to say your dad's crazy, and your reign is going to be short. And then that night, something comes and kills him. God must have been I'm presuming God was bored.
Yeah, I mean, like, what a better way to weed out people that don't believe that you're real than
By doing strange shit to
yeah,
them.
because like if you're just blatantly like I'm God, then like I don't blame him for being upset because when you're the one with all the power, like screw you.
Yeah, I'm not putting up with that. But I do think that God must, being by himself and being God, must get bored, because he comes up with infinitely creative ways of dealing with people.
Well, you have,
Disembodied fingers.
you have to get elaborate when people just don't believe in you. Oh, a burning bush, things just spontaneously combust. I don't think that story even happened yet.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. So talking about the burning bush, like the fact that Moses told anybody, number of years ago at work, I was out mowing the lawn on a very hot day. And as I was out there taking a cigarette break, an elephant ran down the street. And do you know what I did? Well, you do know.
I do know. I'm
Because
letting
I've
you
told
tell
you
it,
this.
yeah.
Because I've told this story before. So I went inside and I got a drink of water and I lay down on the couch. And then when our boss, came in and said, "What are you doing?" I just said, "I don't want to talk about it." I refused to tell anybody I'd seen an elephant because I was 100% sure that I was crazy. Turns out there was an elephant that escaped and ran down our street, and shortly thereafter the police came down and they herded up the elephant. So I was not crazy, but point of the whole story is if I saw a burning bush, I would go take a nap. Well, maybe not a burning bush, but a burning bush that talked.
Yeah,
Like I'd keep
yeah.
that to myself. Even if it told me to tell people, I'd be like, yeah, nope,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So that's God's magic finger.
So what's next?
Next is Spilling the Seed. And this is sung by Onan,
Oh yes,
son of
onanism.
Judah. So, a little backstory here, again taken from the liner notes. Tamar is married to Judah's oldest son, but he dies without giving her a male child to inherit the estate. law requires that Judah's second oldest son, Onan, try to give her a son. Since Onan is next in line to inherit the estate, you can understand why he doesn't want to impregnate Tamar, even if she is pretty hot. So at the first feeling of orgasm, Onan pulls his penis out of her and ejaculates on the ground. Yahweh kills Onan. Tamar later disguises herself as a prostitute and seduces Judah, the father. She has twin sons and takes over everything. Look it up. Genesis chapter 38.
Does it say look it up at the end of every one of these?
It does.
Okay, because I thought you were just saying that this whole time. All right.
So let's hear some onanism.
My brother's dead, so she said, I need your seed. But then again, can it end with smiling eyes?
We're not talking about this. We're not talking about this. Listen to it
Oh.
yourself. I'm not talking about this.
It's pretty harsh from God's point of view. You
That's
know?
why I'm not talking about it.
So interestingly enough, onanism is means masturbation. So even this is so okay. Interpretation of the Bible. In this particular story, Onan has a job to do, and he doesn't do it, so God strikes him dead. Somehow, mainstream religion, or Catholicism perhaps, interpreted that as if you masturbate, you're going to go to hell. Those are two different things.
Completely different.
Completely different. Shooting in a tissue because you're horny versus pulling out when God told you to impregnate somebody. Like, that's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting.
I'm glad you talked about that.
It is a uncomfortable subject. And that was a different singer. As I mentioned earlier, the residents are a collective, so it's generally it's that sort of spoken word singing guy, but this was somebody else, not Molly. So that was that was that.
That was that.
That was that.
We're gonna move on from that.
Into also difficult territory with our next song, Dinah and the Unclean Skin.
Oh my God.
And this is also from the book of Genesis, which at the end of the day, I'm going to have to go back and look at the book of Genesis because there's some weird shit going on in there. So this song, or this particular Bible story, is about Jacob's daughter, Dinah. She gets raped by the prince of the city of Shechem.
Dinah, won't you blow your horn?
She didn't want to blow his horn.
Clearly.
So maybe it wasn't really rape because the couple sticks together and decides to be married.
Okay.
Right? But Jacob's sons insist that the prince can't marry their sister unless he and every man in the town is circumcised. Not something the sane men would ever agree to do.
Yeah.
The prince forces everyone to be circumcised anyway, and while he and his citizens are recovering from the unpleasant experience, Jacob's sons sneak into town and kill them all.
Well,
including the
interesting.
prince. Mhm. Sorry, go ahead.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay. Let's just, yeah.
All right. Then they steal all the town's goods and enslave all the women. Dinah ends up with no husband and a bad reputation. Death would be preferred. Look it up. Genesis 34. So that's the backstory. The song is sung from the perspective of Dinah, daughter of Jacob.
Won't you blow your horn? Let's just listen to it.
He murdered me. He murdered me. He took his tongue and touched it and murdered me.
There's a lot to unpack there
Yeah, Genius.com's got a picture.
of people being murdered, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was maybe going to be a picture of people getting circumcised. And
No, they still do that today, though.
murder people?
No, circumcision.
Oh yeah. So I'm kind of picturing.
Well, I mean, yes, they murder people too, but
they do both, but not at the same time. I'm sort of picturing like all the guys in town like lying down in a row, and the doctor just going down, or the what do they call the Jewish guy that circumcises people? He's got a name. I can't think of it now. But him just going down the line, snip, 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 snip,
so I think it's a little more than snip.
snip,
I think it's like
chicken, like a hole puncher, chicken. I don't know what the father's end game was here. I can see how this screwed her over for life.
yeah.
Like, even if she was the hottest chick in the world, would you want to marry someone who forced an entire town to get circumcised and then her brothers murdered them in their sleep?
No,
Yeah, no.
that's like the definition of crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Oof. So, the less said about that, the better.
Yeah, for sure.
So the next song is called Bathsheba Bathes. And this is sung by David, son of Jesse. I wish that I was Jesse's son. Backstory here is King David sees Bathsheba bathing and decides that he must have her.
Bathsheba,
Bathsheba,
who's bathing,
who's bathing.
taking a bath, as you would say.
Yes, a little alliteration in the.
I see where
the Old
words
Testament.
come from.
So, no problem. He's King David. Her husband is in David's army and is fighting far away. So David thinks it's improper to be dallying with a married woman, so he plots to make the husband's position in the army so vulnerable that he is unlikely to survive. And then it's in Yahweh's hand. Yahweh, being a good sport, buys into it and kills the husband, but tempers his action by killing the firstborn of David and Bathsheba. Look it up. 2 Samuel, chapter 11.
Out in the openness of night, she bathed before my sucking sight. Fingers of fire so soft and slow.
So, Bathsheba.
Bathsheba. Bathing.
Yeah, I wonder if that's where that came from. I don't know what the etymology is of that.
Of the word bath.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
but or maybe they named her after bathing, because maybe I don't know. Who knows?
It could be. I mean, again, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that a lot of Old Testament stories are more allegorical than factual. I'm sure there are people that would take issue with that, but
Well,
what are you going to do?
yeah,
So, yeah, King David's a bit of a dick.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
It's interesting.
I'm not surprised.
In the Road Word, I'm sorry, it's called Roadworms, is the album that they released of the live tour of this. There's at least one song that they've added to the album, to this whole story of King David, and this is right out of the Bible too, where he comes into town and has a parade and basically just stands there naked with his dick flapping out in front of the whole town, like, look at me and my dick.
Was he drunk a lot? Like, I feel like that has a lot to do with it.
If you were king, like, what else was there to do, I guess?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, run the nation. I don't know, just thought.
Be a king. But, that's too much for some people. So that's the story of King David getting some guy killed so he can fuck his wife. And
Nice, I guess.
Dude. So our next story, bridegroom.
Oh, love that one.
Yeah, it's not the Tower of Babel. The next story is Bridegroom of Blood, which comes from the book of Exodus. This is a wonderful little ditty about Moses. It's one of my favorite Bible stories. I'm going to tell my own version of this rather than go by the liner notes.
All right.
So basically, the story starts with Moses is going to Egypt to free the Israelites. Him and his wife and his infant son are traveling through the desert. One night, in the middle of the night, God comes down and starts attacking Moses and trying to kill him. God knows why. Well, God does know why, because he's doing it. He's attacking Moses. He's laying down some serious hurt on him. And Moses' wife comes running out of the tent. She grabs a piece of flint off the ground, circumcises the baby, takes the severed foreskin and rubs it on Moses' legs, and God flies away. That's that story.
Oh my god. A lot of foreskin stuff in the last half of
There's
this album.
A lot of penis mutilation going on. So just looking quickly at the synopsis in the liner notes. Yahweh orders a stuttering Moses to go to Egypt to free the Israelites. Along the way, as Moses sleeps next to his wife and baby son, suddenly Yahweh attacks and tries to kill him. Bible doesn't explain why. His wife thinks quickly and decides that the best thing to do is to take a sharp piece of flint, cut off the tip of the baby's penis, and wipe the blood on the legs of Yahweh or Moses. Bible's not really clear on this point. Then she calmly states, "Truly, you are a bridegroom of blood to me." Look it up. Exodus chapter 4, verses 24 through 26.
I took the edge of a rock and sliced the skin from his cock. Yes, I sliced the skin from his cock.
So I take issue with the end of that song, not because of the fact that it says what it says, but because that word, I'm not even comfortable saying it, it should be reserved for a adult male, not a child.
Not a child singing it. Do you ever think that somebody would so beautifully sing a line like that?
No.
On a side note, I did not know that Moses stuttered.
He stuttered.
Thou shalt not kill your neighbor. There might have been 20 commandments, and everyone was like, "All right, shut up, we're done." At
Yeah.
10. Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Although it might be best to just leave it in the suitcase on that one.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
I do like the sampling of the baby crying in the middle.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. One of the things that I love about the Residents is sometimes the music is very uncomfortable to listen to, but I find it enjoyable at the same time. Maybe I'm just weird, but I dig that. So that is, or that was.
Let's keep that in the
Blood.
past for
Was.
now.
Our next song is "Hanging by His Hair,"
Mother of
which
God.
is sung by Absalom, son of David.
I thought this was going to be Samson, but no.
Yeah, it's funny when I looked. It's this is also from Second Book of Samuel, and I thought it said samurai at first. And I'm like, how cool would it be if there was a book in the Bible,
The Book of Samurai.
So in this song, King David, again, we're King David and his family. He is driven out of Jerusalem by his son, Absalom, as a show of his power and maybe a touch of exhibitionism.
Ooh.
Absalom goes up on the roof of the palace and has elaborate sexual intercourse with his father's numerous concubines in sight of all of Israel. When a battle brews with his father, Absalom makes the mistake of riding his mule under an oak tree and gets his head stuck in the tree branch. He is hanging in midair by his hair when David's men find him, torture, and kill him. Look it up. Second Book of Samuel, chapter 13, verses 20 through 30, chapter 16, verses 20 through 22, and chapter 18, verses 9 through 15.
My God, let's listen to it.
What an odd flex. So
Hold on. Don't say flex like you're relevant. What did you say the other day? That bye Felicia? What's wrong with you?
So actually, Bye Felicia, that comes from Friday, which is my generation. That's Ice Cube.
I just want to point out
Yeah.
that it's not cool anymore for you to say that.
No, I know. Anyways, so a comparable story. Let's say, all right, you're the son of the king,
Yeah.
and you kick your dad out of his land, and then you go on TV and screw all his girlfriends in elaborate kinky sex for the whole world to see. What's your end game, yo?
Yeah.
He's lucky he got away with getting tortured and killed while he was stuck in a tree, I guess.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yikes.
A lot of sex going on in the
There's
Old
so
Testament.
much at the end of this freaking album.
They
like-
saved
like-
the good to last.
They could have mixed it up a little, you know, like one sex, one murder, call it a day. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. So let's see what our next track holds for us.
If what? Our next track.
If what? The Seven Ugly Cows, which is sung by Joseph, son of Jacob. Joseph, sold into slavery, is made the personal servant of the Egyptian pharaoh. His striking good looks are noticed by the pharaoh's wife, and she makes sexual advances. Joseph knows not to screw up his easy life at the palace, so he rejects her. This does not sit very well with her, so she cries to her husband that Joseph tried to rape her. Joseph gets tossed in jail, where he meets two eunuchs and successfully interprets their dreams. The eunuchs tell the pharaoh that Joseph can interpret dreams, and the pharaoh asks Joseph to interpret a wild one about 7 ugly cows and evil ears of corn. Joseph interprets and is rewarded by becoming the second most powerful man in Egypt. There is no mention of what happened to the pharaoh's wife. Look it up. Genesis 39 to 41.
Fucking weird.
Someone's head is on a stick. Pecked by bluebirds that are sick.
Evil kernels of corn.
Evil kernels of corn.
Yeah, the dreams in the Old Testament are pretty wacky.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is, a mad mouth feeds only on greed. Wise eyes see nothing but need.
Why I'm laughing.
So our next track is from the Book of Judges. The
Judges.
song is titled "Burn, Baby, Burn."
It's a disco inferno.
Jephthah is a general who depends upon the favor of Yahweh to win.
Ooh.
He vows to the Hebrew God that if he will let him win this war, he will sacrifice the first creature that comes out of his house to greet his return. Since Jephthah lives just with his only child, a daughter, it really isn't much of a surprise that she greets him that day. He blames her for being the first creature he saw. She takes the news rather well and heads off for the country with her friends for 2 months before coming home to be slaughtered by her daddy. Look it up. Judges chapter 11 verses 31 through 40.
God digs my daddy.
Yes, he does. So this, to me, seems like the origin of the monkey's paw story.
Oh my god.
The unintended consequences of asking for something.
I haven't heard about that since like elementary school. I think that was mentioned. Maybe we read a book about it.
But or maybe you read Monkey's Paw.
I think that was it, yeah.
It could be. So, our next song is titled "Kill Him," and this is sung by Abraham. Son
Please
of
note that's
Sarah.
all capitals and an exclamation point.
Yeah, which is why I spiked on that one because it really belted out.
Oh yeah.
Did I spike?
Oh yeah, you did.
So, from the liner notes, and I think most of us are probably familiar with this story, Yahweh says to Abraham, "Kill me a son." Abraham says, "Sure." He's undisturbed by the fact that Yahweh wants his only child dead. Though he argued mightily to save Lot from the destruction of Sodom, he now accepts that God has spoken while leading young Isaac to the designated sacrificial spot.
Oh, I've heard about this story.
By the way, at the last moment, Yahweh says, "Just kidding." And father and son ritually slaughter a ram caught in a nearby bush before going home. Look it up. Genesis 22.
Now, I just want to make mention that the I can't remember who made it. It was National Geographic or something. History Channel. History Channel. That's who it was. National Geographic wouldn't make sense. Did a whole series called The Bible, and some of these stories are actually in there. Like this one's in there.
Oh, they're all in the Bible. Oh,
No,
you mean
like in the series,
in the
like
series,
like as a
okay.
video. So like if you're enjoying this and you want to see some of this acted out, this is in there. So
Interesting side note. When I was a child, we were living in Connecticut. My father's a priest. We acted this out and like recorded it, and he played Abraham and I was Isaac. I had to lie on this stone table and wait for him to stab me.
oh my god.
My dad might have been working out some issues. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't church. Maybe it really happened. I don't know. That's my story. Here's the song.
Blood is thick, but God
What's with all the penis mutilation?
It's a big thing in the Old Testament.
Well, clearly not if they're mutilating it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know, and again, I'm a little rusty on my biblical history, but I know in the Old Testament, especially, like God required circumcision. Like he,
I just want to put out there, I've never heard penis mutilation be a part of this particular story.
yeah, it might be a different verse that they're referencing. I
Maybe.
do say I really enjoy in this album the fact they picked some of the stranger stories in the Bible, but having it told and sung from the perspective of the characters in it, it's just such a straightforward approach to something that could just be ridiculed. You know, it's it's really interesting.
Okay, well, now reading through the lyrics here, why does God want to kill children? Then he makes me cut my penis and the manhood of my sons. So I guess it's more of like a, why are you making us do all these things? Like, why do I have to do this?
Yeah, right.
If you watch the video from the Bible on the History Channel, Abraham struggles with this whole situation and he cries the whole time.
Yeah.
And is just so relieved at the end when he doesn't have to kill him.
Which is what God wanted, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to do it even though you don't want to do it because I told you to do it.
Yeah.
God was, like, Old Testament God was insecure and petty and jealous.
I think it's back to my thing. It's just like people start to doubt. Like he couldn't have, like Abraham and his wife weren't able to have kids, so he had that other woman have Ishmael, and that's where like Islam started and stuff apparently. But like they had Ishmael, and then all of a sudden he's like, okay, no, actually you're gonna have a kid here too,
Yeah.
and like now, so I'm sure he was like defeated and was like, really, like why is this a thing?
Poor juvenile God working out his...
Not sponsored, but watch the Bible. I think it's relevant.
Yeah, give another wrinkle on it.
Whether or not you believe in that, it's an interesting show to watch. It's on Prime, by the way. If you have Prime, you can watch that.
Oh, I do have Prime, since we're all stuck at home looking for things to do. Check out the Bible. So our next track is called I Hate Heaven. This is also known as the Song of Songs. This short book of the Bible is one terrific erotic love poem.
Oh.
What could be more curious in a book that denounces sexuality so strongly? Look it up. The Song of Solomon, sung by the Dark Bride. A long erotic poem in the Bible.
Long, but I thought it was a short story.
I think it's both.
Yeah, and here it is in Hebrew, and I can't read Hebrew, but it probably is something sounds a little like.
That's accurate.
Now, believe it or not, I actually tried to learn Hebrew
Really?
for a hot minute. I used to sit in my bed watching this guy teach how to speak Hebrew or write Hebrew, and I was always eating these like sweet onion chips, Maui onion chips or something.
So you have a sensory memory of learning.
I do. Anytime I eat those chips, I think of. I think I learned how to write like dad or something. Couldn't do it now.
I remember when I was a kid, I played dreidel because I had a lot of Jewish friends, but I don't remember.
Did you make it out of clay and when it was dry
Dry
and
and
ready?
ready. Or dreidel, I shall play. Dreidel.
Not copyrighted.
That just reminded me of a South Park song, but I won't sing that. Our next track, and we're nearing the end of the album here.
Yes.
This is actually taken from the New Testament. This song is called Judas Saves. So, according to the liner notes, according to the New Testament, God has sent Jesus to earth to spread word of the power of love. Unfortunately for Jesus, he also has to die for the sins of man. Though not stated, the implication is that God not only needs Jesus the teacher, but also Judas the hitman. Judas hears the calling and realizes the request is too important to refuse. He must betray Jesus for the salvation of mankind. Jesus is fully aware of the entire plan God is laying out, and perhaps even feels sympathy for Judas. Judas betrays Jesus by kissing him, one final intimate moment in recognition of their love and pact to save mankind. Look it up. Gospel of Mark, chapter 14, verses 17 through 46.
So I didn't know that story. Like I knew that happened, but I didn't know that like with the kiss and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. Out of all the tracks on this album, like these stories are directly taken out of the Bible. This one is inferred because the Bible, in all four of the Gospels, they really don't go into Judas and his motivation.
Yeah.
And I've always thought of it this way. So Judas is critical to the whole. Without Judas, Jesus doesn't get betrayed. He doesn't get sacrificed.
Right.
None of the Son of God works without Judas.
Right.
And I've always felt there's two ways that you can look at it. Is one, Judas was a patsy that got royally screwed over by God, damned to hell for just being a player and playing his part, or that Judas was in on it and willingly sacrificed his life as well so that this story could come to fruition. And I think that's a beautiful story in that he had to betray the person that he loved and respected, and knowing that he would be damned for all time in order to make this great thing happen. Like he's Jesus' wingman,
Yeah.
and I like that.
Well, and like if you think of it, right, then the bride of Christ, he's basically the wingman for the bride of Christ.
Yeah,
That's a cool way of looking at it. I don't know why I'm smiling thinking about it.
I feel like if I got a bumper sticker saying Judas is my wingman, that like I might run into some trouble. But let's give props for Judas.
Yeah. I there's a Family Guy bit where they're all at the Last Supper there, and Jesus is like, one of you will betray me. And Stewie leans over and goes, Judas, he had like 5 margaritas. You just had a salad. And he gets angry.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'll have to admit, like growing up the son of a preacher, and
Son of a preacher man.
being very involved in the church my entire life, as a child, we listened to Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack quite a bit. So my interpretation of the gospel and the relationship between Jesus and Judas has probably been more based off of Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical than the actual Bible. So I've always viewed Judas in a sympathetic light, that he loved Jesus and did this, out of ultimate friendship.
Just like your view of the Testaments is History of the World Part 1. Mel Brooks
That there's another
drops the
yes.
tablet.
Yeah, I had a very because interestingly enough, so and I would have to ask other preachers' sons, but I think that this is probably not a unique experience. My father was a big one for putting on roles. He was Father Ed, the priest at church. He was Dad at home. He was Zauber the magician when he was doing stage magic. Almost like characters. People assumed that we read the Bible at home and prayed at every meal, and we did not. So when I went to Sunday school, they were like, oh, Chris doesn't need to learn about the scripture because he already knows. No, I didn't. So my wife, who is a recovering Catholic, probably, if she has a degree in comparative religions from Smith, she knows a hell of a lot more about actual Bible stories than me, the son of a preacher man, because we didn't learn it at home. So that's my story.
Well, what's next? Revelation?
So this is the last track on the album. We actually have 2 songs left that we're going to listen to. One is a bonus, but the last track on the album is the Revelation from the liner notes. Revelation seems to end the Bible mainly because it would be rather anticlimactic without a big finale. The 7 seals, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the final judgment, the war in heaven, the battle of Armageddon, it's all here. For questions about the end of the world, note that only 1,440 people are saved, and they are all Hebrew men who have not had sex with women. Actually, everybody dies, and no one goes to heaven. They are resurrected at some point in time, and the saved ones stay on the earth in a place named New Jerusalem. The others end up in a sulfur lake. Don't worry if it doesn't make much sense. Revelation is the writing of a maniac, deranged, surreal, and potentially dangerous. Look it up, Revelation of John, chapters 4 through 22.
I think that in the beginning was better.
There was a lot more going on.
Yeah. I feel like we could totally flip those. I don't know.
Yeah. It would,
Intensity wise, not content wise.
yeah. Although if everything's one big circle, does it really matter? Have you ever read the Book of Revelations?
Oh yeah, all the way through.
Some crazy stuff in there.
Yeah. There used to be this video on YouTube, but I haven't been able to find it, where it walked through Revelation from beginning to end, and it did a good job at explaining it. But, excuse me, because the book can get confusing.
It's interesting. The Residents sort of revisit this theme later on. They had an album out a few years ago called The Bunny Boy, and
That's you.
Yeah.
The Beast of Bunny.
There was a long involved backstory with the Bunny Boy. He was looking for his brother that ran away, but there was an instrumental album that came out with it called Patmos, and Patmos is an island on.
That's where John wrote Revelation. Yeah.
Side note: the Bunny Boy tour. We saw my friend John and I went and saw them in concert, and it was one of the most intense experiences. I was actually scared. The character, the Bunny Boy, that the lead singer was embodying, was supposed to be crazy. So he's on stage in a bunny suit with his actual face revealed, even though like they've been anonymous their whole career.
Yeah.
And I know he was acting, but dude carried off crazy so much that like the hairs on the back of my neck were going up.
Oof.
It was a good show. It was a good thing. Back to Revelations.
Yeah.
I've always kind of felt, because obviously it's 2020 and we're possibly in the beginning of the end times now, but up until now, Revelations hadn't occurred, like the end of the world, Armageddon, whatever. So I've always thought that if John is sitting there on Patmos and he receives a vision of the end of the world, how does somebody in biblical times interpret what is going on in our world right now? Like 7 trumpets blowing, like that could be the internet, like chariots in the sky could be playing. Like he would have no point of reference for the things he saw if he was seeing a vision of today. Not even something that they could conceive of. So you come up with colorful metaphors to try to interpret what you're seeing.
Right.
That's always been my take on it.
I have had the same take on that.
So that was the album Wormwood, Unusual Stories from the Bible.
Unusual for sure. A lot of penis mutilation and murder.
A lot of crazy stuff going on. And as I said, what I really appreciate about this album is it's not mocking the Bible at all.
No.
It's a very sincere look at just some of the more unusual stories. As somebody who has endured listening to the Residents from me, but not taking a close look at one of the albums, what are your thoughts on the album? I guess
putting it all together is not as bad as hopping into your truck and you're playing it. Like, Because when you walk into it, you're like, I don't want to listen to this. But I think putting the story behind it makes it better to listen to. Because then you're like, okay, all right, I get it.
And honestly, with like a lot of prog bands, when you have a concept album, I think that's something that you don't just walk into. Like, you got to sit down.
I'm sorry, I can walk into any part of Pink Floyd's The Wall and not want to turn it off.
Okay, some prog bands, more experimental. Yeah, that's fair. I'd say the same.
Although
Same
I
with
would not want to put on several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave and grooving it with a pig on and just let it go.
Yeah. And The Who, like The Who's Tommy does songs individually on their own. I like The Residents enough that I'll sit and listen to stuff broken up, but it's definitely, I think, better appreciated, like sitting down and experiencing it as it's meant to be experienced. So, because they are somewhat irreverent, and there's this whole live thing that went on it, and I thought it'd be good to end on a positive note. I wanted to end our listening experience here, hearing a track off the live album Roadworms. It's called Old Time Religion, which is an old hymn, Old Time Religion, and they do their own sort of little spin on it, and it's a little irreverent and kind of pokes at the Bible thumpers a bit, but it's an uplifting track, and I think a good way to end our podcast today. So for our listeners, if you're listening to the album, it's not on Wormwood, but it is on Roadworms, the live album. So we'll pop a link up for that too, maybe a YouTube video or something. We'll see. So here's Old Time Religion.
Give me that old time religion, that old time religion, that old time religion. It's good enough for me. It was good for the baby Jesus. Good for the baby Jesus. Good for the baby Jesus. Yeah, good enough for me. Give me that old time religion, that old time religion, that old time religion.
So we had Liquid Death.
Yep.
We drank the water and baptized ourselves in the Residents.
So appropriate for this this time of year. And let's hope. We all know the world around us has gone insane. Easter is supposed to be a season of rebirth. Let's hope that we come out of this with something new and fresh, and maybe get on with our lives.
And if you can't be with others, think about others.
And if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our over an hour long episode for the second week in a row. Next week, we'll be listening to Fat Boys and Little Men by Fat Boys and Little Men, a local group out of Mansfield, Massachusetts. Their album, I guess EP more or less, is only 5 songs, so we won't be bothering you as much next week. Give you a little bit of a break. So in the meantime, check out esotericthepodcast.com for any additional content, and now live streams that we've been doing.
Yeah, and the next one won't be as much of a surprise. We'll give people a little heads up before we decide to do the next one.
And we'll be working on it, so you should be able to go onto esotericthepodcast.com and click on the live streams tab and watch us there.
Cool beans.
So check us out next week.
Until then, give me that old time religion.